Today we will be finding the surface area of a triangular prism. The vocabulary for this lesson is the triangular prism. A triangular prism is a three-dimensional figure with two congruent and parallel triangles for bases and three rectangular lateral faces. Now remember, if we're talking about bases, there can only be two bases. They have to be congruent, or basically the exact same, and they have to be parallel. So in this case on the left, we have two triangles that are congruent and parallel, and the one on the right, we have the same thing. It's not a rectangular prism because there are three faces, which would be not correct for the base. So in this case, there are two triangles that are congruent and parallel. Thus, it is a triangular prism. The main point, all you have to do to find the surface area of a triangular prism is to find the sum of the area of the bases and the lateral faces. So we have a triangular prism over here. If you sort of would think about unfolding it, we have our two bases, which are these red triangles. All we'd have to do is find the area of these. And then we have three rectangles. We have the right side, we have the left side, and it looks like we have a bottom piece. That bottom piece is this green, and the left and the right side are the yellow. So all we have to do is find the area of each of these five pieces, and we would be able to find the surface area of the triangular prism. When I'm trying to solve for a surface area of a triangular prism, the very first thing that I like to start off with are the rectangles, just because it's the easiest formula and it's not hard to, and it's a little bit harder to find the height in a triangle. So let's start off with the area of the rectangles. So I have the height of 6 here and 6 over here. So for this first one, if I look at this rectangle, all it is remember, it's base times height, so it's 8 times 6. For the next one on the right side, we have 10 times 6. And for the one in the back, this one is 12.8 times 6. Now all we have to do is just solve them through. So 8 times 6 is 48. 10 times 6 is 60. 12.8 times 6 is 76.8. And once we add all of those together, that is the grand total of 184.8 yards. But that's not it. All that covers is the area of this rectangle, and this rectangle. We still have to solve for the bases, which were the triangles. So now we have to solve for the area of the triangles. Remember, to solve for the area of the triangles, it's 1/2 times the base times the height. Or it's the same as the base times the height, all divided by 2. Now on a triangle, to find what is the base and what is the height, I always recommend looking for the 90-degree. So the base and the height in this case would be 10 yards and 8 yards. So all we have to do is just plug them into our equation. So we have the area of a triangle is equal to 1/2 times 8 yards times 10 yards. That 1/2 of 8 is 4 times 10 which would be 40 yards squared. Now don't forget, how many triangles do we have? We have one triangle here, and we have another triangle here. So this 40 yards squared is only for one triangle. We have to figure it out for two triangles. So if we do two triangles, we have the 40 yards for this one right up here, and then we have to add another 40 yards. So in total, we have 40 times 2, which is actually 80 yards squared. So now all we have to do, since we have figured out that we have all of our rectangles and we have our two triangles, all we have to do is just add the 184.8 plus the 80 to get 264.8 yards squared. Alright, now it's your turn. What I want you to do is to pause the video, try this one to see how you do. Just a heads up, this 9, 4, 11, and 8, those go with the rectangles. This 6.5 inches, this is the height of the triangle. So pause the video, try it yourself. Alright, so let's try to figure out the area of these rectangles. So the first one, we have 11 by 4, which is 44. This back one, we have 9 by 4, which is 36. And this back one off here to the left, we have 8 by 4, which is 32. Now all we have to do to find the area of these rectangles, add them all together, and we get 112 inches squared. Now onto the triangles. Remember, its area equals 1/2 the base times the height. We have the base of 11, and then we have the height of 6.5 inches. So we would have 1/2 times the base is 6.5, the height 11. So when we solve this through, we end up getting 35.75 inches squared. Now remember, that's only for one of the triangles. We have to multiply it by 2 to get the other one, so we get 35.75 times 2 to get 71.5 inches squared. Now, the 112 inches squared over here, we have to add that to the 71.5. So we have 112 plus 71.5 to end up with 183.5 inches squared. So we're going to do one more example before we finish this video. If you want to try this one yourself, feel free, pause it, and unpause it when you're ready to see what I've done. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is just work with these rectangles. So the first one I have is a 10 by 11. So the area of these rectangles, we have one of them that is 10 by 11, which is 110. The back right one, we have another 10 by 11, so that's another 110. And then the back left, we have a 5 foot by 11 foot. Because if this one was 11 over here, that means that this is 11 over here as well. So we have 5 times 11, which is 55. Add all those together, 275 feet squared. That is all of the rectangles. So next, what we do is the triangles. So remember, it's the area of the triangles is area is equal to 1/2 of the base times the height. Now remember, the very first thing you got to do when it comes to these, you got to look for those, for that 90 degree. So it looks like the height is 4.8 feet, and the base is this one right here. This is 10 feet. So from here we would do 1/2. The base we said was 10 feet. The height is 4.8 feet. Multiply those together. No. Let's do 1/2 of 48. So that would be 24 feet squared. But remember, that is just for one of the triangles. We have to multiply that by 2. So 24 times 2 to get 48 feet squared. That includes this bottom triangle as well. So now we have the 275 plus this 48 to get 323 feet squared. So, quick little recap. Remember, do the rectangles first. Those are the easiest ones. Then from there, solve for the triangles. When we're solving for the area of the triangles, always look for the 90 degree to figure out where your base and your height is.